Hey y'all, I want to talk to you today about something that kind of happened to me last night. And that is when you're hurting and you need a friend, you need a church, you need help, and you have nowhere to go, so you go to the church. And somebody at that church is mean to you, is unkind to you, is unloving to you, and rejects you, quite frankly. I want you to know that Jesus doesn't do any of those things. Jesus is not the church. The people in the church are not Jesus. They're people. They're flawed. They're sinners. And a lot of times, yes, you want them to be like Jesus because they say they are, right? They use his name. They say they're Christian. They say they're a Christ follower. They say they go to church. But in the Bible, it says you'll know them by their fruit. And the fruit is peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, love, and joy. And so when somebody is unloving to you, especially somebody in the church, when someone in the church is unloving to you, I understand how you can get turned off. I understand how you could want to run away and want to never go to that church again. I understand when you're hurting and you're vulnerable and you reach out to somebody for help and you don't get that help that you reached out to them for, it's hard. I mean, in my 28 years of living and, being a Christ follower, I can count on one hand how many times somebody has been mean to me at the church. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people. Sometimes, I've been a part of a church since I was a little girl, and that church really is like a family to me. And when I'm away from that family, it hurts. I miss them. But I know a lot of people are not as fortunate. I know that a lot of people maybe didn't grow up in the church, and maybe through a course of events, through some choices that they wish they didn't make, ended up on drugs or in relationships that were not good for them, or alcohol abuse, or anything that wasn't a healthy situation for them, for you maybe if you're watching. And so you fall. You make a mistake, you fall, and you need help. Maybe it's financially, maybe you can't pay your bills, maybe it's with your children, maybe it's with your marriage, maybe your marriage is falling apart, maybe there was some infidelity, maybe some adultery, maybe you're going through an affair. Maybe your spouse had an affair and you found out, or maybe there is an addiction of some sort. Regardless of what has happened, maybe you're young, maybe you're a teenager, or maybe you're even younger than that, and the church has been mean to you, or somebody at the church has been mean to you. Maybe they called you a name. Maybe somebody in your youth group was bullying you, was shaming you, was harassing you on Facebook or social media. Maybe they got your cell phone number and they were being mean to you. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you sent a picture to somebody's phone that you weren't supposed to, that you shouldn't have, and they sent it to everybody at your school. Or maybe you said something about someone and you made a mistake and you didn't mean it, but it started a rumor that got around the whole school. Whatever happened, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that I'm sorry that somebody in the church treated you unkind. I'm sorry that they were mean to you. I'm sorry that it left a bad taste in your mouth. I'm sorry that you were hurt. I want you to know that Jesus does not do any of those things. He doesn't hate you. He doesn't bully you. He doesn't shame you. He doesn't reject you. He doesn't call you names. He doesn't push you away. He doesn't look down on you. He looks at you with so much love and so much compassion, and he just stands there with his arms open wide, wanting to embrace you, wanting to hug you, wanting to love you, wanting to spend time with you, wanting to talk to you. He isn't any of those people. I'm sorry that those people were mean to you. I'm sorry that they were unkind, but that's not Jesus. I'm sorry that they used his name, but they did not take on his lifestyle. The Bible says we will know them by their fruit. And I've used that for a pretty long time in my life to fruit test it. If there's no fruit in it, it's not a tree, or it's not a fruit tree. If it's an apple, it's not an orange. You know what I mean? And I know it sounds kind of crazy and you're like, well, duh, if it's an apple, it's not an orange. But I'm saying if somebody says they're a Christian, a lot of times these days, everyone wants to be known as a Christian. Even people that aren't a Christian are like, oh, I'm a Christian, just because they want to be known as that. What does their life look like? Are they loving? Are they kind? Are they humble? Are they modest in their appearance, in the way they talk, in the way they act? What do they do when nobody's watching? What do they do when they're all alone? Last night I had a instance with somebody, a leader in a local church, and I'm not going to give names because it doesn't matter what the name is. They're not the problem. They're going through things in their own life, and I'm sure they're hurting and they're lashing out at me, and that's not my problem. It's not a reflection on me. It's a reflection on them and where they are right now. And I feel pity for them. I feel bad for them because they know the truth, but they're not living by it. And I just want to share with you that judge people by their fruit. If it looks like an apple and it smells like an apple, it's an apple. If somebody is loving to you, if they're generous to you, if they go out of their way to befriend you, and they say they're a Christian, they're actually living the life. If somebody maybe gossips around you, somebody says mean things about other people, somebody maybe does things with you that they don't do when they're with other people because they put on a front or they put on a facade or they try to be something they're not, you can trust Jesus didn't do that. Jesus didn't pretend to be anything other than who he was. He didn't say, okay, with these people, I'm going to act this way, and with these people, I'm going to act this way. Actually, when the religious leaders came around him, they were upset that he didn't act more like them. And he's looking at them thinking, why are you acting that way? Like, you're supposed to represent my Father. You say you love the Lord. You say you love God. Why aren't you representing him? Why aren't you loving others? Why aren't you taking care of the widows and the orphan and homeless people? Why aren't you donating your time to elderly people that don't have any family? Why aren't you loving people that need love? Why aren't you being there for people that don't have anybody? Why aren't you giving your shirt to somebody who's shirtless? Why are you judging this woman at the well who's had all these husbands and who maybe has really been hurt somewhere along the line? Why aren't you loving her? Why aren't you caring for her as a friend? Why aren't you encouraging her? So I just want to let you guys know, judge people by their fruit. If they're loving, if they're kind, if they're honest, if they're true, judge that. If they say they're a Christian, say, okay, but watch the way they live. If somebody tells me they're right-handed and I see them writing with their left hand, they're not right-handed. If you see somebody writing with their left hand and they tell you they're left-handed and you see them writing with their left hand, well, then you can believe that they're left-handed. If you see somebody saying that they're a Christian, saying that they love Jesus, but they're not acting like it, and you see that their life does not match up with that, don't look at them as a Christian. Don't look at them as a Christ follower unless their life shows that. I know, we're all in different pages in our walk with Christ, and I'm far from perfect. Do not look at me for perfection because you will not find it. You put me on a pedestal and I will fall off of it. I am a sinner. I think bad things. I do bad things. I say bad things. I kind of stick my foot in my mouth sometimes. I have regrets. I am mean sometimes. I get angry, especially if I'm not eating. And I say things and I do things that aren't Christ-like. But I ask for repentance and I'm genuinely sorry and I ask for forgiveness pretty much almost immediately, if not right after. But I'm not perfect. So please don't look at me for perfection. And don't look at the church for perfection because those people are not perfect either. They're just people. If you want to look for perfection, look for Jesus. He is the only perfect you will ever find. He is the only pure love you will ever find. He is the only pure kindness you will ever find. And people that spend time with him, that read their Bible, that talk to him, that pray to him, those are people that truly deserve to be called Christians. You want Christ's name, but you don't want his life. Well, it's like saying you're going to eat an apple but not eating it. Don't say it. Don't say you're going to eat an apple if you're not going to eat an apple. If you're going to eat an orange, say you're going to eat an orange. And I know these are silly references and you're thinking, Ashley Dawn, really, apples and oranges? I'm just trying to simplify it as best as I can. I'm trying to help you understand that the church is a box, sometimes a building full of really hurt, broken sinners. And they don't get it right. And you have to forgive them. And I'm not telling you have to go back to that church. If somebody was unkind to you, if somebody was mean to you, if somebody treated you in a way dishonoring to God, personally, I wouldn't go back to that church. You do not have to. I'm not telling you to go back to that church, but I am telling you to forgive those people, because if you don't, it will eat you alive. Unforgiveness is like a poison, and the more poison that's there, the sicker you'll get. So immediately forgive them, let it go, don't hold that burden over them anymore. Give it to God. It says in the Bible that God will get revenge, that vengeance is God's. Let him get the revenge, because I guarantee you, if you got it yourself, that feeling that you're looking for, you wouldn't get. You just wouldn't. The only way to feel great about a situation like that is to give it to God and say, God, I don't understand why this person was mean to me. I don't understand what I did to deserve the way they treated me. But I know that your son died on a cross for my forgiveness, to forgive my sins, so I could be made whole again, so that I could put on his robe of righteousness, so that I could belong to your family, so that I could go to heaven, so that I could live in eternity with you, so that I wouldn't be apart from you any longer. And I trust you, Lord. And I'm going to give this painful situation from a person in the church, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to trust that you're going to get vengeance on your own time, that you're going to take care of this situation, but that you're also going to take the unforgiveness from me. You're going to take it away. You're going to cleanse me with the washing of the word when I read my Bible. You're going to fill the hurt and the pain inside of me with your love and your peace that passes all understanding. And I'm going to trust you, God, that you are going to make this situation good, even though it doesn't look good right now, even though I'm still hurting, even though this person is mean to me, even though I have to see them at church group, if you like the church group that you go to. Even though I have to see them when I go to school or wherever. I don't want you to miss out on what God has for you just because somebody in the church hurt you. I don't want you to walk away from God forever. I have family members that have been hurt by pastors, by leaders, by people in the church, and have walked away from God and have walked away from the church and haven't looked back. And that's scary. To let your eternal future rest on a flawed person, they don't have the right to take your eternal future from you. They don't have that right. And it's not theirs to give you. So don't give it to them. Don't just give it away. Instead, trust God that A, he loves you. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. The word promises that. Trust him that he will get revenge. Don't worry about getting revenge on your own. You won't be happy even if you get it eventually. Give it to him. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I won't sing. I won't do that to you. But let it go. Just get rid of it. Just like shrug it off. Like dust your shoulders off. Do whatever you have to do, but let it go. Forgive. And then work towards understanding that God gave us his grace. He lavished his grace upon us. And I think he lavished so much grace upon us because he knew we'd need it so bad when dealing with other people. When people are mean to us, I'm not saying you have to be best friends with them, but I am saying don't allow that to ruin who you are. I saw a post, I think it was a year ago. I was walking through a really, really bad time in my life, a storm, one of the ugliest I've ever walked through. And I saw this post and it said, regardless of how hard the world is, don't let it harden your heart. And it was so powerful to me because at times the world can seem really, really hard, but don't let it ruin your heart. You have a beautiful heart. You have a pure heart. Don't let the world ruin it. Don't let one bad apple in the church, one bad person, and we're all bad people in need of love, but as far as nobody's perfect, but don't let one person that did not reflect the love of Christ ruin your eternal future or ruin a relationship that you possibly could have at church. So if you've been going to a church for a long time and one person in that youth group has hurt you, don't stop going to that youth group unless you feel like you're going to find another youth group. I don't want you walking away from God completely just because of one person that was mean. Because that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants to divide and conquer. He wants to get everybody alone so that nobody has fellowship. Don't do that. Don't let him do that. And the other thing is, if it was a leader, more importantly, if it was like a youth pastor or something, go to the main pastor and let the main pastor know what happened. It's biblical. It says it in the Bible, that you should go to somebody else. And definitely if a youth pastor has done something he shouldn't have done, you should definitely go to the pastor just to let that pastor be aware of it. Now, if it's a leader, you can also go to the pastor, but I wouldn't go to that class anymore. If you're going to a class, I would distance yourself from that class. Personally, I would find another class with another leader that you did trust, that you did receive love from. Or if it's your first time going to a church, say you've never been to church before and it's your first time going to a church and you received rejection, shame, bullying, name calling. If you received anything other than the lavish love of Christ, that is honestly like a warm blanket on a cold day that just wraps you up in it and you just feel at home and at peace and comforted and loved. If you went to a church for the first time and you did not receive that, I want you to try going to another church. I want you to keep trying to go to churches until you find that. Find a Bible-believing church. A church that will welcome you with open arms. A church that will love on you with open arms. For me, my church in Florida, how loving they are, that they were there for me when I needed them, that when I went through some storms and some bad times, they wrapped their arms around me and they didn't let me go. And that's what you need. You need to keep looking until you find a church that is more like a family, that will love you, that won't judge you, that won't look down upon you, but that will just love you, that'll see you where you're at, regardless if you're wearing a biker t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans or a mini skirt and high heel, regardless of whatever you're wearing. Now, if you're watching this, I don't tell you to wear a mini skirt and high heels, but regardless of what you're wearing, your clothes are not your heart. Sometimes they can reflect your heart, but your clothes are not your heart, okay? You should not be judged for what you're wearing. And I'm sorry if someone in the church did. I'm sorry if you have tattoos and someone in the church made you feel like less than a person because you're tattooed. I'm sorry if you have piercings and someone in the church made you feel less than a person because you have piercings. I'm sorry. Jesus does not look at you like that. When Jesus was sitting at the well with the woman at the well who had had multiple husbands, who was an adulteress and was, could have been stoned to death. The people back in those days stoned people to death. They could have killed her. Jesus didn't stone her. Jesus didn't look down on her. Jesus loved her. He told her that she was forgiven and he encouraged her. And he forgave her sins. And that's what Jesus does, but he welcomed her with love. He didn't yell at her. He didn't raise his voice to her. He was sweet. He was kind. And Jesus is sweet and kind. I mean, he wants us to do right, and he doesn't want us to do wrong and to live immorally, but he loves us. He says, you will know them by their fruit, and you will know them by their love. And I am so, so sorry. Please accept my apology for those people who have hurt you. You did not deserve that. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. A dog doesn't even deserve to be treated like that. And I'm sorry that you were hurt. I'm sorry that somebody... So I just wanted to finish what I was saying by wrapping it all up with the people in the church are not Jesus. Yes, they should be a better representation, and I'm so sorry that they hurt you, but they're not Jesus. Jesus will never do that to you. And when people treat you unkind, honestly, the best thing you can do is forgive them. Allow Jesus to change your heart. Give give it to God and just let it go. And then spend time in His presence. Spend time hearing from God. And when I say hearing from God, it's not an audible voice that's going to talk to you or going to call you on the phone, but your spirit. He speaks to your spirit. At least He speaks to mine. You may hear something different. Every person's relationship with Jesus is different. But He speaks to my spirit. And when He speaks to me, I know that I know that I know that I know, and nobody can tell me different, because I know when you have a first experience, when you have something firsthand, nobody can tell you didn't have it, because you're the one that felt it. You're the one that walked through that. So I just want to tell you that you're loved. That person that hurt you is not Jesus. Jesus will never hurt you. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. We are the ones that leave Him and forsake Him and spend time doing things for ourselves instead of spending time with Him and talking to Him and reading our Bible and praying. Prayer is such a powerful tool. And if you are watching this right now and this is speaking to you, I really, really, really encourage you to go see the movie War Room. It just came out. It's in theaters right now. It's phenomenal. Personally, to me, I really like it a lot. It really spoke to my heart, and it really encouraged me. And yeah, so I'm really sorry that those people hurt you, but please don't give up on God. Please don't give up on Jesus. Please don't think that that person's bad behavior represents Jesus or represents God, because it doesn't. That person was wrong for hurting you. That person was wrong for rejecting you, for shaming you, for bullying you. Whatever that person that said they love Jesus did to you that did not reflect the love of Jesus, I'm sorry for that. But the ball is in your court. You have the power to forgive them or not forgive them. If you don't forgive them, it's going to hurt you more, though. I hope you liked this video. I hope this spoke to you. I hope that you can get something from it. I hope that this video encourages you to forgive and that you can move forward and that you won't have to worry about what somebody thinks about you, because honestly, their opinion of you does not matter. It does not change who you are as a person. It does not change your heart. What changes who you are as a person and what changes your heart is you. You can make the choice to forgive them and move forward, or you can make the choice to allow that bitterness to grow into a tree and just completely uproot your life. Negativity is one of the ugliest things. It shows on your face, it shows in your heart, it shows everywhere. And don't allow that little seed of negativity that person planted to grow into something that it shouldn't. Instead, pluck that seed of negativity out and throw it away. Just get rid of it. Get it as far away from you as possible, because you're a beautiful person and you have a beautiful life. And just because that person didn't have the ability to see that doesn't mean that you're not a beautiful person and you don't have a beautiful future. Jesus has a future for you. He has happiness for you. He has joy for you. And He has a group of people that want to love on you. So don't stop going to churches. Don't completely give up your faith, or don't give up on God. People are flawed and people make mistakes. And that person, those people that hurt you, they made mistakes. So I just encourage you, keep looking for a good church, a Bible-believing church that preaches the Word of God, that doesn't back down, that isn't ashamed of the gospel, and judge people by their fruit. Before you believe that somebody is eating an orange, make sure they're eating an orange. Before you believe somebody is right-handed, watch what hand they write with. See their steps. A lot of times people will talk the talk, but quite frankly, they won't walk the walk. And talking's easy. Anybody can talk. But to put your feet on that narrow path and walk against the grain and against everybody else when they're walking, with the crowd and you're not, that's pretty hard. So I give you courage. I give you courage for sitting through this 30-minute long video. I give you courage for not completely giving up. I give you courage for having it in your heart to find the strength, because it does take strength to forgive, and for giving it to God, because He knows what's best, and He will fight for you when you feel like you can't fight for yourself. I love you, but more importantly, Jesus loves you so, 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 so much, and I'm sorry that somebody made you think otherwise. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll be praying for you. And I can't wait to hear your stories of how God changes your heart and how God takes that unforgiveness and that hurt and that pain and He turns it around to something good. Just like me, I'm taking the pain of somebody hurting me last night and I'm turning it into a video because I want to encourage and I want to inspire. And I believe that that little seed of negativity that somebody wanted to plant isn't worth it, and I want to plant a seed of positivity. So that's why I'm making this video. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you just spend some time talking to God and just asking Him to just wrap that warm blanket of love around you and to keep you close all the days of your life. Bye, y'all.